And at this time, we want to hear now from another close friend, Bill Dickerson.
My friend Leo Shapiro. The date, as we know, was January 4th, 1905. The place, Chicago, Illinois. The event, the birth of one Leo Shapiro, a man who would one day literally change the world, but yet most who knew him would never know, because modesty or humility could well have been Leo's middle name. Therefore, it's my privilege today to set the record straight and share a little of what I've come to learn as we celebrate the life of my friend Leo Shapiro. I had the privilege of first meeting Leo in March of 1988. That was my very first week on the job at Cal State Fullerton. I had just turned 41 years old the previous week, and Leo had recently celebrated his 83rd birthday. And I remember thinking at the time, wow, what a bundle of energy from a man more than twice my age. And of course, over the next 19 plus years, I was to repeat that observation many, many times. In that I was the new foundation director for the university, Leo was determined to break me in just right. So one day early in my tenure, Leo came to me and said, "You know, CLE's membership isn't getting any younger, and I think it could benefit both our members and the university if the foundation were to arrange for someone to give us a talk on planned giving." You see, at the time, there was no one at the university with any planned giving experience, so we called around and eventually found a planned giving specialist named John Schendel to present some talks to CLE, basically espousing the benefits of planned giving. And sure enough, over the next several months, we did indeed write 7 or 8 charitable or annuity trusts that would benefit both the donors throughout their lifetime and ultimately benefit the university itself. And wouldn't you know that a couple of those original donors would go on to make subsequent 7-figure gifts to the university, no doubt in part due to Leo Shapiro's vision. In the summer of 1989, Leo brought me a clipping from Newsweek magazine describing a joint venture between the University of Virginia and the Marriott Corporation, in which Marriott would be building senior housing for the university. Leo felt that with over 800 members of CLE, many of whom would be looking for senior housing in the coming years, that this presented a great opportunity to build upon the success of CLE and, most importantly, to build upon the success of the newly developing gerontology program. Well, it only took about a nanosecond for me to realize that once again Leo was onto something. So together we began an 18-plus year effort to bring senior housing to Cal State Fullerton. Unfortunately, we were never able to complete that during Leo's lifetime, but I am pleased to report that it just might happen in the next 2 to 3 years, because even as we speak, there are 2 different developers of senior housing, both of whom are looking for available properties in and around Cal State Fullerton. So even though Leo never got to see this particular dream, there is still a chance that one day his vision could indeed become reality. As anyone who knows Leo will attest, you cannot spend much time around him without developing the highest regard and admiration for the man. And I'm pleased to report that as a result of these efforts over the years, whether they be successful, as in the case of the planned giving efforts, or still unrealized, as in the case of the senior housing, Leo and I were to become very good friends. In fact, so much so that for the past several years, Leo, Barbara, my wife Maura, and I, and whoever among our relatives might be visiting or living with us at the time, would get together for dinner about once a month. Now, each of these dinners was always preceded by cocktails and hors d'oeuvres at Leo's, where he took great pride in both the snacks that he served and, most importantly, in serving them himself. After all, Leo was the host, and it is the job of the host to serve the guests, even at age 102. Well, at one of these monthly dinners, I was privileged to be asked by Leo and Barbara to serve as the master of ceremonies at his 100th birthday party that Barbara had thrown for him at the Center Club. The party, as you know, and some of you were there, was a marvelous success. And in the course of doing research on Leo to prepare for that evening, I came to learn a few more things about the man that some amongst us may not know. First of all, Leo's family emigrated from Russia around the turn of the 19th century and settled in Chicago, where his father worked as a pharmacist. In fact, Leo's first part-time job was working in his father's pharmacy, and this no doubt was a precursor to Leo's later success. When it came time to go to college, Leo attended, as you know, the University of Chicago, both then and now, one of the more prestigious universities in the country. He received his bachelor's degree in 1925 at the age of 20. And following graduation, as the rabbi shared with us here just a few minutes ago, Leo went to work for Sears, Roebuck and Company, where, not surprisingly, he rapidly rose through the ranks to eventually become National Merchandise Manager for Health and Beauty Aids. Leo was literally one of the top dozen or so people in the entire Sears organization. But in 1944, after only 19 years with Sears, Leo took an early retirement, and he made good on a previous promise to his wife, Deb, that they'd someday live in California. And obviously at age 39, inactivity in retirement was simply not an option for Leo. So in 1945, he started his own company called the Drugette. Now, Leo's new company essentially rented aisle space in food markets, which Leo then would stock with, as you might guess, health and beauty aids. Well, the significance was that in 1945, to get health and beauty aids, one had to go to a pharmacy. But Leo, being the visionary that he was, realized that if you put the health and beauty aids on the shelves of the food stores, that people could avoid that second trip. And of course, today, food markets and pharmacies have combined to offer virtually everything under one roof. But thanks to Leo and those who followed, you can now avoid that second trip. As you might guess, Leo's latest venture was a huge success. And a short 5 years later, in 1950, the Drugette was bought out by Raisin Markets. And though work was now much more a hobby than a necessity for Leo, he continued to work for Raisin Markets until 1958, when they were acquired by Alpha Beta. At Alpha Beta, Leo was the vice president for sales and marketing, a position that he held until 1970, when he retired for the fourth and final time. Now, Leo did continue to do some consulting until 1979, when he began an entirely new venture, and that's the creation of Klee that Betty just so eloquently told us about just a few minutes ago. So the Leo Shapiro that I came to know, who was to become my friend Leo Shapiro, was not only a visionary, perhaps even a prophet, who could indeed foresee the future. But even more importantly, my friend Leo Shapiro was just that, my friend, with whom I enjoyed many conversations over the years on many, many topics. As we know, Leo was well-read, a seasoned traveler with an impeccable memory for detail right to the very end, and a brilliant conversationalist, as well as a natural humorist who always knew how to put people at ease. Simply stated, an evening with Leo and Barbara was a whole lot of fun, and Maura and I always enjoyed those times immensely. To say that the world is a better place because of Leo Shapiro sounds like such an understatement. But to say that I am a better person, and those of us who knew Leo are better people because of having known him, is a truism to the nth degree. Leo, we are indeed all better people for having known you. We will hopefully become even better people in the future for having known you, and I can assure you we'll never forget you. Rest in peace, dear friend. You did good.